Hello everyone and welcome back. Well, I bought Crashdown. I bought the comictom 101 comic book. I read it, I bought it. Let's talk about it. So first things first, I want to give a shout out to comictom. He's always one of the first people that watches my Instagram stories, and I'm assuming he's watching my videos. I don't know if he is or not, but Tom, if you're watching this one, thank you for watching my videos and always being one of the first people to watch my Instagram stories. I thank you for that. But today we're talking about Crashdown. We're talking about the comictom comic book. This so infamously that he plugged on our live stream together. One of the biggest live streams in comic book YouTube history. Well, I had to buy this book. I had to read this. I was too curious not to. If you haven't noticed already, I've got my Ripley shirt on. I got my Ripley statue in the back. So if that's not a little foreshadowing, I don't know what is. So I wanted to buy this book from on the aftermarket. As far as comictom sending me this book, he did not. Now, I think Tom would have sent me this book if I had asked, but I wanted to buy this book. I wanted to have a completely unbiased opinion as much as I possibly could, read his book, and give my honest review and thoughts. I bought this for $12 plus $5.38 shipping, $1.22 tax, and I got the first four issues of Crashdown sent to my home. So, yeah, as far as this being a speculation book or a book that has like a collectible item, not necessarily a book that has gone up in value, but for this book to still be holding at $3 or $4 an issue, which the cover price is $3.99, from a collectible standpoint, before we talk about the story, that's pretty good. The book came out early this year. I think issue 1 was January, issue 2 February, issue 3 March, issue 4 April. So for it still to be holding like that in the aftermarket is pretty impressive. But I had to make a comment here about our friends over at Key Collector who have said so many nice things about your boy Sticky Goose. It continues to be one of the top indies of 2024, the top independent comics of the year. It remains the face of that indies tab. So I had to give this comic a shot. I had to see what this was all about. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at this book, and I'm going to give you my review of comictom's comic book, Crashdown. So the first thing I want to talk about is the quality of the paper. This is a high quality comic book. You compare this to Marvel and DC, it's not even close. The quality of the printing, the quality of the book is just far superior. I would equate this to an Image or a Boom Studios. This is published by Whatnot and Massive. I'm assuming in conjunction with each other. And the book is quality. The physical item is quality, and that stays the same for all 4 issues. If you don't know what this is a sci-fi mystery survival story is how I would describe it. So you've got comictom, you've got his partner in crime, Ryan Sargent, Fire Guy Ryan, and then Ben Templesmith. Ben Templesmith is famous for the 30 Days of Night comic, which is a very, very famous comic, and then kind of a cult classic horror movie with Josh Hartnett. We actually watched it just a few weeks ago, and it's very campy, but man, that holds up. It's still a great movie. And then I have not read the comic 30 Days a Night, but it is on my wish list, and after reading this, I am definitely going to buy it. When you first start reading this book, you instantly feel like you're watching the Alien movie. Tom and Ryan have obviously been heavily inspired by the movie Alien, and then also the show Lost. So Mother Goose and I have been watching the show Lost for the past few weeks here, and it is some of the best TV I've ever seen. And Alien is one of my favorite movies of all time. So to say that I have a lot in common with them as far as the things that I like is an understatement. Immediately when I start reading this, they're already making smart moves. One of which being this face. I was very skeptical of the cover, but it looks so much better in person. The first thing that I notice is like this half face, half helmet. And one of the problems you always see in like comics or movies or video games, or the helmet covers the face. So a lot of times the main character will have the face revealed. They did a really smart thing where showing half of the face and then half helmet. That was an interesting creative decision that allows you to see kind of the best of both worlds. One of the things you immediately see is the names of the characters. Specifically, one of their characters' name is Locke, and another character's name is Shepard. This is, if you're a fan of Lost, you know John Locke and Jack Shepard, two of the main characters, two of the best characters from the show, and it is obvious that they have been inspired by that, and they loved those characters to put them as characters in their own book. Other characters that you'll see, specifically like Rodriguez, that's kind of a throwback to Alien, and even Lost again with Michelle Rodriguez being Ana Lucia. I think that was her name in the show Lost. Very smart introduction in the beginning of this book. So we're not hit with exposition immediately. They're trying to catch the reader's attention very quickly with this intro, fast-paced, action-packed, catastrophes happening. Then let's snap back into character development. So that is a very smart choice, and most movies and TV realize that now, and especially comic books too. You only have a certain amount of time to hook the reader, hook the viewer, and Tom and Ryan get that almost immediately. So let's talk about the art style, and I'm assuming Temple Smith has done all the pencils, all the coloring throughout. Very interesting art style. When I first saw this, it was like it didn't look that impressive, but when I'm reading it, it very much gives a sense, a feeling of the horror. So they play with colors very well. So multiple times during the story, you have flashbacks, and they use the color theme to let you know whether we are in present time or in a flashback, which is a very smart decision. And then they have some kind of drab backgrounds, specifically like when they're on the spaceship. They use this cool trick of highlighting the faces of the characters, like giving it a bright light almost to accentuate the character's face. So not only you know who's speaking, but everybody doesn't look the same, and it doesn't look so drab and just muddled out with too much like low tone color. Immediately there's a joke in the very beginning about mastication, which as a dentist I can appreciate that a lot. I love a good mastication joke. So one of the big tropes in the very beginning is this cryo sleep, which is a complete ripoff of Alien. It's the idea that something has happened during the cryo sleep. The cryo sleep has failed. This is how people are being, how they're getting long distances through space is through this cryo sleep. One of the big mysteries, one of the big parts of the horror buildup is the failure of the cryo sleep, which that becomes one of the major plot points in the beginning. They do a really good job of introducing characters through heading and text, and it's a good way of kind of letting the reader know who the characters are. One of the best part, and I keep talking about Lost with this because it's over the top how much this has been inspired by Lost, but Lost is so good at helping you or making the reader or the viewer remember the characters' names. They keep reinforcing the name. They keep saying the name, but in a way that you can remember. This book does that as well. Characters sound different when you're reading them in your mind. This is very often the case with new comic book writers. All of the characters sound the same, or they don't you can hear the voice of the writer in the story. I do not hear Tom. I do not hear Ryan in this. I hear the characters, which is a big testament to their writing, that they don't put themselves in the comic, which is a huge no-no to me. And speaking of putting yourself in the comic, one of the biggest things is this book is not woke. There is no injection of race. There's no injection of politics. There's no injection of religion. There's no injection of any of the woke tropes that we see. Ryan and Tom are not forcing any type of agenda in this book. At no point in time do you feel like this book is anything other than a piece of entertainment for the reader. There does not seem to be any agenda other than making an interesting comic, which is possibly the nicest thing I can possibly say about this book, because it is so far removed from all this modern stuff that we are getting. This book feels like it respects the reader. It respects the reader's time. It's not injecting its own agenda to the reader. It is trying to entertain the reader, which is the best compliment I can possibly give to these guys. We have a huge shift, which I was not expecting in the story, where I thought this was going to be a sci-fi set in space story, but I was so glad that it wasn't, because the characters wake up on this beach, which is, again, lost. But it's so nice because they can take the helmets off. You know, we can get more dynamic with the characters. Excellent decision to do that, but still have that sci-fi feel with the aliens. As far as the monster and the big bad, they really don't show the big bad, which, you know, a lot of horror, you know, has that the mysterious, the mysterious villain or the mysterious monster, which kind of allows the reader to use their imagination. They kind of are doing that. I would have liked to seen more of the monster. And as far as the monster choice, I don't love it. It's I a lot of respect for their variant covers, where they decided to pay homage to Starro in the Justice League. But that is very much what the monster is. It's just like a big octopus or a hydra, or if you've seen Lord of the Rings, the Kraken. Like it's very much like a kraken. Let me just talk about the flashbacks again. Again, they're using the lost archetype of using flashbacks for exposition, and then changing the colorway so that we know that we're in a flashback and not in modern day. Excellent choice. And then the flashbacks are really only usually just like a page, maybe a page or two, so that we don't get too much backstory. We get back to the action that's happening now. Feels very adult. There's some cussing, but it's not over the top. Like, they're not overdoing it. You know, they say the F word a lot. They say the S word. You know, they're cussing enough to know that you're reading like an adult comic book, but it's not over the top, and it doesn't feel forced, and it feels natural coming from the characters when they're reacting to their situation. As far as the pacing of this book, it's excellent. This doesn't feel like we're getting too much exposition. It feels like we've got a pretty good pace. And as far as a modern comic book reader, which I very much am, it definitely feels like that. It keeps the story going. Not too much text on the action pages. No explanation of what the character's thinking while the panel is showing us things. Good pacing throughout. One of the huge things, I have a new respect for Tom after reading this, because this definitely feels like a comic that respects the reader, and it feels like a comic book that was created by somebody who likes comics. And that definitely doesn't feel that way in a lot of the Marvel and DC stuff. It feels like these books are being written by people that hate us, or they are, written by people that don't respect us. This does not feel like this at all. This feels like a book written by Tom and Ryan who love comics. They love Alien. They love Lost. They love sci-fi. They love mysteries. They love horror. It feels like that. It feels like they are one of us, a reader, which I think is the biggest compliment I can give. A couple things. There's a couple of the mysteries that feel you can pretty much guess what happened. They're kind of heavy-handed with some of the characters' faces, or you can kind of put two and two together. I would have liked a little bit better of a mystery, but that's tough. And then as far as the ending, the last issue is a little bit longer than the other issues. A lot of action, a lot of things happen in that last issue. I wish they would have had more time, but they had a 4-issue book. I totally get that. And then endings of comic books are always tough. There's so very few comics that have memorable endings, and only a few are coming to mind now. It's tough. As far as a first try at a comic book, holy crap. I mean, they killed it. I have a new respect for Tom and Ryan. I didn't realize their passion for comics. Their content, the way they do things, it very, very much felt like they were salesmen. But after reading this, I don't necessarily feel that way anymore. I feel like they are fans. And I think that's like the biggest compliment I can give. So, Tom, well done, buddy. It was good. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If at any point in time you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like this video, subscribe for more. Take care.